Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the international relations between India and Russia, and also we will be talking about India's stance towards the Russia-Ukraine war or Russo-Ukrainian war, which started last year in 2022, and chronologically we will understand why India has chosen to stay neutral in this war. This video is going to be interesting, so I hope you like it. We all know that India got its independence from Britishers in 1947, and at that time, there was Soviet Union, who was predecessor of Russia and many European countries. For those who don't know about the Soviet Union, I will simply say that it was a country that included all socialist countries in Europe and Asia, and it was the largest country to ever exist. The Soviet Union was founded in 1922 and it dissolved in 1991 due to internal issues and difficulty in managing such a big country. The Soviet Union covered almost 16 to 17% of the land surface on Earth. Let's go back to the relationship between India and Soviet Union, and then we will gradually talk about the India-Russia relations. When India got its independence, most of the Western countries ignored India and denied to give resources and defense weapons that a country needs to be safe, especially United States and European countries. Later, India framed an economic policy that was inward-looking rather than focusing on imports, and tried to be independent of support from the countries they expected. Joseph Stalin, the premier of the Soviet Union at that time, did not like Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi because he saw them as a supporter of capitalism and Western countries. After some years, when Stalin died, both countries started to build a strong relationship in all aspects like military, economic, infrastructure, technology, and many more. The relationship began with a visit by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to the Soviet Union in June 1955, and First Secretary of the Communist Party Nikita Khrushchev's return trip to India in autumn of 1955. While in India, Khrushchev announced that the Soviet Union supported India's stance on the Kashmir conflict against Pakistan and over Portuguese coastal enclaves such as Goa. Now, we will see chronologically how the Soviet Union supported India. 1. In 1954, the Soviet Union signed an agreement with India to provide technical assistance and aid for the construction of the Bhilai steel plant in Chhattisgarh, which was India's first and main producer of steel rails, as well as a major producer of wide steel plates and other steel products. This plant is now under the Steel Authority of India Limited, popularly known as SAIL, who is the largest producer of steel in India. Also, the Soviet Union helped in the construction of the Bokaro steel plant, which is located in the district of Bokaro in the state of Jharkhand. It was founded in 1964. It is also merged with the state-owned Steel Authority of India Limited, SAIL. 2. The Soviet Union declared its neutrality during the 1959 border dispute in the Sino-Indian War of October 1962, although the Chinese strongly objected. In 1957, the Soviet Union vetoed a US and UK-led resolution at the UNSC calling for a temporary UN force in Kashmir to bring peace. India objected, but 9 members of the Security Council were in support of the resolution. However, because of the Soviet veto, the resolution did not pass, explained a former diplomat on the condition of anonymity. 3. Later, in 1962, the Soviet Union agreed to transfer technology to co-produce the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-21 jet fighter in India, which the Soviet Union had earlier denied to China. 4. In 1965, the Soviet Union served successfully as a peace broker between India and Pakistan after the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. 5. In 1971, the former East Pakistan region initiated an effort to secede from its political union with West Pakistan. India supported the secession and, as a guarantee against possible Chinese entrance into the conflict on the side of West Pakistan, it signed with the Soviet Union the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation in August 1971. In December, India entered the conflict and ensured the victory of the secessionists and the establishment of the new state of Bangladesh. Without the Soviet Union, India would have lost miserably. I will make another detailed video on the 1971 treaty and the famous India-Pakistan War of 1971. 6. In 1985, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi visited the Soviet Union on his first state visit abroad in May 1985 and signed 2 long-term economic agreements with the Soviet Union. In return, Mikhail Gorbachev, former president of the Soviet Union, visited for the first time to a third world state and met with Rajiv Gandhi in New Delhi in late 1986. Gorbachev unsuccessfully urged Rajiv Gandhi to help the Soviet Union set up an Asian collective security system. Gorbachev's advocacy of this proposal, which had also been made by Leonid Brezhnev, who was a leading policymaker for the Soviet Union in the 1960s, was an indication of continuing Soviet interest in using close relations with India as a means of containing China. Later, with the improvement of Sino-Soviet relations in the late 1980s, containing China had less of a priority, but close relations with India remained important as an example of Gorbachev's new Third World policy. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Russia inherited the same relationship with India which the Soviet Union had. In 1997, during the tenure of Boris Yeltsin, India entered in a long-term agreement for economic changes. In the 21st century, India and Russia relations have been very good since the presidency of Vladimir Putin. Let's see some aspects of this India-Russia relations. Since the start of this relationship, both governments have long viewed their bilateral trade well below its optimal potential, but the only long-term way of rectifying this was through having a free trade agreement, FTA. For oil imports from Russia, both governments have set up a joint study group, JSG, to negotiate the specifications of an agreement. A final agreement would be signed between India and Eurasian Economic Union, of which Russia is a part of, also including Kazakhstan, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan and Belarus. India's GAIL, a government company, has agreed to LNG shipments to India of 2.5 million tons a year for the period of 20 years. Indian oil companies have invested a lot in the Russia's oil sector, and a notable example is ONGC Videsh, which has invested over $8 billion with major stakes in oil fields such as Sakhalin 1. Russia has agreed to build more than 20 nuclear reactors over the next 20 years. Russia has stated it will cooperate with India on its Make in India initiative by engagement in the development of smart sites, the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, the aerospace sector, the commercial nuclear sector, and enhancement in manufacturing of Russian military products through co-development and co-production. Russia agreed to participate in the vast, over $100 billion, DMIC infrastructure project, which will eventually connect Delhi and Mumbai with railways, highways, ports, interconnecting smart cities and industrial parks. Russian President Vladimir Putin stated in an interview that one of his government's priorities was to build a smart city in India, a smart city on the basis of Russian technologies. AFK Systema will likely be the primary Russian company involved in the project due to its previous experience in smart city projects in Ufa, Kazan and Rostov. Russia has been the largest provider of defense weaponry and arms to India for more than a decade. Russia's share in India's defense weapons and technology imports is more than 50% in the recent years. Both countries have invested billions of dollars in each other and maintained a stable relationship for decades. Sadly, many developed countries did not even came forward when Pakistan, UK and the United States were together in the 1971 war. Today, when they see their growth and market in India, everyone is India's friend. For example, Ukraine never ever supported India either in military or economically. They always condemned India for the Kashmir conflict and took sides with Pakistan. Harsh reality. Well, with all those years of help and support from the Soviet Union and Russian Federation, personally, I do not see any point for India to not stay neutral in this Russia-Ukraine war. Of course, India has condemned the war many times since its start on international stage, but being a participant in war is not a good move for India and its developing economy. Thank you for watching.